Good morning. My name is Lauren Weiser, and I'm a founding and current board member at Sharsheret. Welcome to Sharsheret's annual benefit. We are so thankful to each and every one of you for joining us this morning to help acknowledge all the tremendous work Sharsheret has been able to accomplish this year. It is thanks to you, our guests here this morning, our incredible volunteers, and our hardworking and devoted staff that Sharsheret has become the leading cancer-focused Jewish organization in the United States and recognized as such by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC. We have many to thank for today's celebration. Our benefit co-chairs, Ellie Borger, Dr. Tammy Brick, Dr. Karen Gams, Jordana Nadrich, Batya Paul, Mark Siegel, Alyssa Zaga, Effie Zinkin, and Linda Zucker. And thank you to our silent auction co-chairs, Jennifer Aronoff, Shifra, and Zahava Reinhardt. My colleagues on our board of directors who are here with us today, please stand up as I say your names. Jonathan Blinken, Lisa Farkovitz, Dr. Dalia Shoretz-Nagel, Dana Norris, Alyssa Zaga, and Esther Zeidman. And our founding board members, Keith Mendelson, Tani Mursky, and Nicole Sawson. And our medical advisory board members, Dr. Gila Leiter, Dr. Aviva Preminger, and Tanya Zuckerbrot. Thank you to our incredible staff at Sharsheret, and especially Ellen Kleinhaus, whose tireless efforts have made today's event such a great success. Also, I would like to take a moment to recognize a special staff member who literally keeps Sharsheret up and running. Please join me in congratulating Sharsheret's Technology Director, Mike Lowy, on his 10th anniversary of exemplary service and dedication to Sharsheret. Mike is here today at the AV stand. Please stand up, Mike. And thank you to our corporate sponsors, Holy Name Medical Center, Lewis and Garbuz Attorneys and Counselors at Law, Novartis Oncology, Merck, and Valley Hospital. And today's incredible honorees, guests of honor, Gila Pfeffer and Miriam Reinitz-Cops, and the Lisa Altman Volunteer Tribute Award recipient, Jonathan Blinken. As we come together today to celebrate Sharsheret, our feelings are bittersweet, as some of the women of Sharsheret are not able to be here. I would like to call upon Alyssa Zaga to recite a chapter of Psalms to Tehillim as we pray for a full and speedy recovery for all of the women of Sharsheret who are undergoing surgery and treatment. Please rise and have these women in mind as we recite Psalms chapter 121.
Shir Lama'alot, Esai Enai El Harim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Me'im Adonai, Oseh Shamayim Va'aretz. Al Yitain Lamot Raglecha, Al Yanum Shomrecha. Hine Lo Yanum, V'lo Yishan, Shomer Yisrael. Adonai Shomrecha, Adonai Stilcha, Al Yad Yeminecha. Yomam Hashemesh Lo Yakeka, Ve'yareach Balayla. Hashem Yishmarcha Mikol Ra, Yishmor et Nafshecha. Adonai Yishmar Tzeitcha Uvawecha Me'ata Ve'ad Olam. A song for ascents. I shall raise my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help is from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not allow your foot to falter. Your guardian will not slumber. Behold, the guardian of Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your guardian. The Lord is your shadow. He is by your right hand. By day the sun will not smite you, nor will the moon at night. The Lord will guard you from all evil. He will guard your soul. The Lord shall preserve your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore.
Thank you, Alyssa. The summer of 2001, almost 17 years ago, I received a call from a friend knowing I was still undergoing my own challenges with breast cancer, but asking if I would be willing to speak to another young woman who had recently been diagnosed with breast cancer. That woman was Sharsheret's founder, Rochelle Shoretz. I did not know it then, but I had become a peer supporter, and Ruchi and I were the first links in the Sharsheret chain. We wanted to support others in the same way, and that was how Sharsheret was born. Knowing firsthand how critical it is that Sharsheret continues to be here for women and families today, tomorrow, and in the future, I, together with other members of my family and friends, have dedicated ourselves to supporting Sharsheret and participating in Sharsheret's chain of support. We continue to feel sadness deep within our hearts that our dear friend and mentor is no longer with us, and we are committed to carrying on her legacy. I would like to introduce Sharsheret's president, Rochelle's sister, Dr. Dalia Shoretz-Nagel, for a tribute to Ruchi as we approach the third yortzeit of her passing.
Thank you, Lauren. Over the past 3 years, many have shared with me loving memories and inspiring stories about my sister. I received a letter this January that was particularly meaningful that I want to share with you today. This letter came from a work acquaintance of Ruchi's, and her story touched me deeply. She writes, "No one will ever know about the late nights that Ruchi worked in the very beginning, gathering information and reaching out to so many to help create an organization that would end up helping so many in need. My son, an oncologist, was attending a seminar in New York at the time and was walking around the huge hall looking for new information, and he saw Ruchi seated at a booth with the Sharsheret logo. Knowing that she was the founder of the organization, he asked Ruchi, "Why don't you hire someone to sit at this booth?" And she answered, "I can't do that. I don't want one penny wasted from the organization if I can do it myself." From that day on, my son, who lectures about cancer and Jewish ethics, always concludes by saying, "If you are looking for a true, genuine tzedakah, give to Sharsheret." Growing up with Ruchi, I watched her excel at pretty much everything she did through hard work and perseverance. But when it came to Sharsheret, she took her perfectionism to a whole other level. And this is because when it came to Sharsheret, she was fighting not only for herself, but for all of the women and families that are struggling with this disease. Following Ruchi's lead, 3 years ago, we launched Rochelle's Dream, a campaign for our future. Ruchi's wish was that Sharsheret would always be there for those in need of its support. Your gift towards this fund will secure the financial sustainability of Sharsheret and will help fulfill Ruchi's dream that no woman will have to face breast cancer or ovarian cancer alone. A special thank you to our lead gifts that continue to propel this critical campaign. Amgen Oncology, Dr. Tammy and Dr. Hillel Brick, Cindy and Rob Citrone, Sherry and Neil Cohen, the Cutler family, the Elephant family, Karen and Mutty Gutman, Tammy and Dr. David J. Katz, Shari and Nathan J. Lindenbaum, Aviva and Dr. Yitzi Jacobowitz, Corey and Brad Meltzer, Batya and Nachman Paul and Deborah, Stevie, Jonathan and Sophia, Ann Rosenberg, Lizzie and Jules Greif, Margot Rosenberg Pulitzer Foundation, Sharsheret's Board of Directors, and the Florence and Lawrence Spungen Family Foundation. And now, I am proud to introduce today's video that gives us a glimpse into the lives of the inspiring women who reach out to Sharsheret for support. Please turn your attention to the screen for Real Stories Told Live.
My life was just in shambles in front of me in my lap.
I found out that I had tested positive for the BRCA1 mutation, which is also called the breast cancer gene.
I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say next. I think I said something like, "Is it cancer?"
When I was 32, I was diagnosed with stage 3 invasive ductal carcinoma, and I was thrown immediately into dose-dense chemotherapy. I was told that it might make me infertile, but I needed it to live today, and so I really didn't have another option.
My husband Danny and I went to visit Israel. I wanted to go to the mikveh to cleanse myself from the cancer, and I wanted to then also go to the kotel to give thanks for surviving the cancer. The night between the mikveh and the kotel, we spontaneously conceived twins.
It was a shock to us, to our oncologists, and it was something that we could have never predicted. I wish that I would have heard a story like this when I was sick. It would have given me a great deal of hope. And my desire to share it with others is a way that I hope to let people know that they should never give up on themselves.
People think that once you get cancer, your life is over, even if you survive, and that's not true. You really can thrive after.
And I opened the envelope, and there were 4 box seat tickets to the Taylor Swift concert, and the doctors came in maybe a couple hours before we had to leave and said, "Your counts are good enough, you can go to that concert." And I couldn't believe it.
I just wanted to, give that message to people and share that it was amazing to have those, few hours where I could be a normal girl again and just kind of be a 22-year-old. Someone came up to me afterwards and said, "I went to the radiation oncologist today and I got a really similar diagnosis to yours." And the fact that you shared your story provided me a lot of comfort in a really hard time, in a really time of a lot of unknowns. If sharing my story can do that for other people, then it's something I really want to continue doing because I was supported and I want to support other people.
All the women in my family get breast cancer. My mom, my sister, my grandmother.
I told a story about first testing positive for the BRCA gene and really not knowing if I could handle doing anything about it. When you find out that you have, let's say, a cancer gene, it is way more complicated than I think that people realize.
So I started to think about having a prophylactic mastectomy, and the thing that kept on going through my mind was I strong enough? Was I strong enough? I really didn't know.
I'd hate for anyone to feel as alone as I did when I was going through this. I do have a lot of people saying like, "Oh my gosh, my friend was just diagnosed. Can you just talk to them about reconstruction?" I'm like, nothing would make me happier.
And one of the great joys of my life, truthfully, has been talking to other women.
Sharsheret provides support to young Jewish women with breast or ovarian cancer and provides them someone to connect to who has the same or similar diagnosis. I find it really helpful to connect with others who have gone through the same thing or are going through the same thing because I can give to other people what they gave to me, and I can continue to the chain, the Sharsheret, if you will, of all of these people working together to bring this really small group of people, of young Jewish women with breast and ovarian cancer together.
Ask for help when you need it and be open to where help comes from. Sometimes it comes from the most unexpected places and it helps at the most unexpected times.
I think it's nice to hear stories of people's courage. I think it's also really nice to hear stories of people's fallibility and anger, and I thought the people tonight were so unbelievably brave.
I was holding my 2 beautiful baby girls, and that was truly the first time that I realized that I had life in the palm of my hands.
The support that Sharsheret and so many other organizations and people gave to me inspired me to go into social work myself.
And I thought so much about the gene that I hope will define me, and that's the resilience gene. And for that, I could not feel more fortunate. Thank you.
It is now my honor to introduce Alana Silber, the Executive Director of Sharsheret, whose tireless efforts and dedication to this organization has extended Sharsheret's reach over the past 3 years, allowing us to impact the lives of more than 80,000 women. Thank you, Alana.
Thank you, Dahlia. Thank you all for coming. Sometimes, when you least expect it, you get a sense of how deeply Sharsheret impacts our community. Several weeks ago, I was going through my email, and you know what it's like to clean out your inbox, responding to messages here and there. And then I saw an email that literally stopped me in my tracks. This email was from Martin Kaminer. He's a longtime Sharsheret friend and supporter. The subject line read, "From my dad," and all that was in the email was a link to a voicemail. I want to play that voicemail for you now.
Hi, Martin. I wanted to tell you something when we spoke on the phone, and I don't know why it slipped my mind. It's fascinating, fascinating. Ricky and I were in a restaurant Saturday, and informal. I was sitting next to a woman who was eating alone. Turns out she's around 60 years old or so. And we got to talk and talked a lot, and she's a very interesting woman. It turns out 10 years ago she had breast cancer, and she talked about the work she's doing now with survivors and whatever, and how the most wonderful organization, she says, saved her life on her Saturday, Sharsheret. She said, "Did you ever hear of it?" When I said that my son and I funded it in its first days, she almost fell off her chair. She was so grateful. She said, "God bless you," and who knows what. So, you know, Martin, we did some good things. We really did. And we're going to continue to do more.
Martin, his dad, Henry Kaminer, and every woman and man is a link in Sharsheret's chain. No matter where you live, no matter your background, no matter your age. Today, we all come together to strengthen that chain. We are only as strong as our links. With each and every one of you here, we have grown exponentially, working out of 3 offices, national here in New Jersey, and regional offices in Florida and California. And I'm really excited to share that we're opening an office in Chicago this year. While there are great strides in medicine today, and many women are doing really well, it's very critical that Sharsheret remains a safe place for all women and families to turn to at every stage of breast cancer and ovarian cancer. Today, we welcome 42 new jewels to the Sharsheret Jewel Circle. These jewels were dedicated in the last 12 months, and our jewels are major gifts that sustain our $3.5 million budget. You will notice some of us wearing Sharsheret necklaces, gifts to our jewels, and a way to raise awareness as Sharsheret ambassadors. And now, I introduce this year's Sharsheret jewels who are here in the room with us today. A diamond jewel, gifted by Adina Lewis Garbuz and Lawrence Garbuz in honor of their mothers Sheila Garbuz and Ruth Lewis and their daughters Ella and Ava. A sapphire jewel, gifted by Chani and Michael Barinholtz and family in honor of Melissa Pelkovitz and Julie Gross. A sapphire jewel, gifted by family and friends of Jonathan Paul in honor of Jonathan's bar mitzvah and PJ's packages. A ruby jewel, gifted by Karen and Daniel Kasowski in memory of Elaine Ackerman. A ruby jewel, gifted by the Pfeffer, Reinitz Kops, and Milgram families in memory of their parents, Fagi and Yitzchak Reinitz. A ruby jewel, gifted by Shelley Rabb in honor of her mom, Judy Rabb. A ruby jewel, gifted by Jared Rechnitz in memory of Celeste Jacobs. A ruby jewel, gifted by Chani and Mark Siegel and Max, Michal, and Orly in memory of their mother and grandmother, Joyce Siegel, on her 20th yahrzeit. A ruby jewel, gifted by Carol Ann, Morris, Michael, and Lily Shoretz in memory of their beloved, amazing Ruchi and in support of Sharsheret. Please join me in thanking to the 65 families who have renewed their jewels this year. A complete list of our generous supporters can be found in your programs at your table and on dedicated jewel pages on Sharsheret's website. We rely on our Sharsheret jewels to do what we do best, help women and families in need. And there isn't a family in this room today who hasn't been touched by cancer. So please consider establishing a jewel in honor or in memory of a loved one. And if you've already established a jewel, please consider renewing it today. Thank you for your support. Please enjoy your lunch, and please go to the silent auction. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Esther Zeidman, a member of Sharsheret's Board of Directors. Tanya Zuckerbrot, today's guest speaker, is best known as the creator of the renowned F-Factor diet and has worked in private practice in Manhattan for more than 20 years. Tanya has built an empire on healthy eating and is also an author, lecturer, consultant, spokesperson, and national media personality. She is a nutrition news contributor for Fox News Channel for its TV programs and writes a weekly nutrition column for foxnews.com. Tanya has also appeared on national television programs and is a social media influencer through F-Factor and her own personal Instagram with more than 95,000 followers. We are grateful to have her as a member of our Medical Advisory Board since 2016. Please turn your attention to the screen for the debut of Tanya's newest public service announcement.
Hi, I'm Tanya Zuckerbrot, founder of the F-Factor diet. Growing up in New York, the closest person in my life was my Grandma Claire. I vividly remember her cooking our family's favorite recipes, her matzo ball soup and stuffed cabbage for the Jewish holidays. When I was a teenager, Grandma Claire was diagnosed with breast cancer. It was a very scary time for our family. But thanks to advances in medicine and Grandma Claire's determination, she survived. It was her strength and her love of cooking which inspired me to pursue a career in food and nutrition science. Today, 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer. But healthy eating and exercise have been linked to cancer prevention. In my 20 years of experience as a dietitian, I have witnessed firsthand the benefits of dietary fiber. By incorporating fiber into their diets, my clients have received numerous health benefits, including weight management, lowering cholesterol, controlling diabetes, and even reducing the risk of cancer. A groundbreaking 2016 Harvard study of more than 90,000 women found that young women who eat high-fiber diets may reduce their risk for breast cancer by 12 to 24%. Research shows that elevated levels of estrogen in the blood can stimulate early growth and development of breast cancer. The good news is fiber helps to lower blood estrogen levels, so by eating more fiber, you can lower your levels of estrogen and also reduce your risk of cancer. Adding more fiber to your diet isn't just simple, it's delicious. Start your day with a high-fiber cereal topped with fiber-rich berries at breakfast. And for a snack, swap out pretzels for fiber-packed popcorn. Small changes to your diet can reduce your risk of breast cancer. You can do it.
Please join me in welcoming Tanya Zuckerbrot live here today.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Esther, for that introduction. And I just want to say that I am so honored to be here today to deliver this message as a Jewish woman whose family has been personally touched by breast cancer. I am accompanied today by my parents. My stepmother, who's here with us, is a breast cancer survivor. Her mother was a breast cancer survivor, and my father, Grandma Claire's son, as we all saw, Grandma Claire was a breast cancer survivor too. As we just saw, one of the easiest things you can do to reduce your risk for breast cancer is to add more fiber to your diet. And today I'm here to explain further the research that supports high fiber diets and a lower incidence of breast cancer. The first has to do with estrogen dominance. And estrogen dominance is when there is a higher ratio of estrogen to progesterone in the body. Estrogen and progesterone work together to achieve hormonal harmony and promote good health. But beginning around the age of 35, women begin to experience both a decline in estrogen and progesterone, but not at the same rate. In fact, by the time women turn 50, their levels of progesterone have declined by 75%, whereas estrogen only declines by 35%. And therefore, this is what we call the estrogen dominance. Higher levels of estrogen dominance are associated with breast cancer, and this is where fiber comes into play. Fiber acts like a sponge, and it actually absorbs estrogen and will usher it out of the body, naturally lowering estrogen levels. In fact, a study found that when women doubled their fiber intake from 15 to 30 grams of fiber per day, they reduced the estrogen dominance by 22%. And the best part was, not only did estrogen come down, but progesterone levels stayed the same. Therefore, we know that adding more fiber to your diet can lower the risk for estrogen dominance and therefore breast cancer. The second way that fiber helps to reduce the risk for breast cancer is that fiber-rich foods are high in antioxidants. Antioxidants fight free radical damage. Free radicals can attack the DNA in the cells and create an environment where breast cancer and other forms of cancer can grow. Fiber-rich foods high in antioxidants include vegetables such as broccoli and artichokes and cauliflower, all the cruciferous vegetables, and fruits such as berries. Blueberries are one of the highest antioxidants foods, and what you'll find is that most fiber-rich foods provide antioxidants, and therefore it's another way that eating fiber-rich antioxidant foods lower the risk for breast cancer. And finally, weight management. Overweight and obese women have a higher risk for breast cancer, especially after menopause. And that is because excess fat in the body increases estrogen levels. In fact, after menopause, where estrogen levels decline, your fat cells are what are producing the most estrogen. A study has shown that women that have gone through menopause and are obese have a 30% increased risk for developing breast cancer. And many women experience significant weight gain with menopause. We all hear about the menopause middle. And on average, women gain approximately 22 pounds after menopause, which increases the risk for breast cancer by 18%. And losing weight is probably one of the best things you can do after menopause to reduce your risk. And this is where a diet high in fiber, such as F factor, can help. Fiber digests very slowly, and therefore it keeps you feeling full for a long period of time, which helps to minimize hunger. You're less likely to overeat. Fiber also not just binds with estrogen and ushers it out of the body, but fiber binds with fat and calories and the other foods it's combined with. And these fat and calories also exit the body rather than entering to your bloodstream, where ultimately they could land on your hips and your belly. Last but not least, fiber revs up metabolism. The more fiber you're eating, the faster your metabolism. This is what we call thermogenesis. And therefore, eating a high fiber diet can ultimately create a caloric deficit, which also speeds up the weight loss process. Women should aim for at least 35 grams of fiber per day. Unfortunately, we are in a fiber deficit. The average American only gets 9 to 11 grams of fiber per day. I hope from the PSA you saw that it's pretty simple to get more fiber into your diet. High fiber cereals, fruits and vegetables, even snacks like popcorn are simple and delicious ways to get more fiber into your diet. You probably have plenty of fiber-rich foods already, in your refrigerator. So the beauty is that the foods that we're recommending you eat are really the foods that God intended us to eat. They're unprocessed, they're whole foods. So my hope is that by understanding more about fiber and that it is an all-natural solution to lowering the risk for breast cancer, that everyone here feels more motivated to incorporate more fiber into their diets. And the study that I mentioned during the PSA really is so important, not just for minimizing breast cancer today, but for future generations. That Harvard study was it was a large subject pool, over 90,000 women. As a mother to 2 young daughters who are 12 years old, to know that as moms, we can be introducing fiber-rich foods to our families because they are all natural, to see that the young women, both adolescents and up until their 20s, who had the highest fiber intake, reduced the risk for breast cancer by 12 to 24%. As a mom, how could you not be more motivated to introduce fiber into your family's diets? So the way that I want you to think about fiber is, of course, there are numerous clinical benefits, everything from lowering cholesterol to managing blood sugars. So if you're diabetic, fiber is probably your best friend to keeping your sugars within normal limits. Fiber also reduces inflammation in the body. Inflammation is correlated with every autoimmune disease, such as Parkinson's to MS, to conditions such as psoriasis and alopecia. Fiber helps to reduce inflammation in the body, and as we now know, fiber also can help to reduce the risk for breast cancer. Some of the foods I mentioned are high in fiber, and I'm also excited to share with you that I just launched a line of high-fiber kosher foods. F Factor now has bars and shakes, and today, all of you here, if you are to purchase any of these products, we are donating a portion of the profits back to Sharsheret. So you are not only going to be doing something good for your health, but you're also going to be supporting this wonderful organization. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm very honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Tanya, on behalf of Sharsheret, please accept this gift as a token of appreciation for the incredible contributions you have made to Sharsheret.
My name is Dana Norris, and I'm a member of Sharsheret's Honorary Advisory Board. Since 2005, we have been privileged at this event to recognize the contributions of men and women who have given their time in support of Sharsheret. Many of those honorees are here with us today, and I'd like to thank them for joining us year after year as they continue to serve as Sharsheret ambassadors. Each year, Sharsheret carefully selects one or more individuals with outstanding volunteer contributions to receive the Lisa Altman Volunteer Tribute Award. Lisa was a Sharsheret volunteer whose sterling qualities were evident in the last gift she gave to all of us, this wonderful event that she envisioned as a way to thank her mother, her sister, and her friends for all that they had done during her illness. Please join me in recognizing Jonathan Blinken, this year's recipient of the Lisa Altman Volunteer Tribute Award. Jonathan was first introduced to Sharsheret when he became a Team Sharsheret triathlete in 2011. And since then, he continues to devote countless hours to ensure the sustainability of Sharsheret, while maintaining his involvement in the Englewood community and the Jewish community at large. For 6 years, I had the privilege of working side by side with Jonathan on Sharsheret's board of directors and executive committee, helping to guide the organization through tremendous growth, while Jonathan continued to be a Team Sharsheret athlete and encourage others to get involved. Today, I am proud to share the exciting news that Jonathan will become our next Sharsheret's board president. Taking over the helm from Dr. Dalia Schwartz-Nagel. We are so grateful for Dalia, who served as board president during some of Sharsheret's most pivotal moments in our history. Thank you, Dalia, for your incredible leadership and dedication to the organization. And congratulations, Jonathan, on this well-deserved position and today's award. With your leadership and endless dedication to Sharsheret, we look forward to continued growth and success in the years ahead. Please join me in welcoming Jonathan Blinken.
Wow, after an introduction like that, I should probably just sit down. First, before I start my remarks, a few thank yous. I'd like to thank our luncheon chairs and the event committee, who all worked so hard to put this fantastic event together. And a thank you to Mark Siegel and Jordana Nadrich, you both know why. To my co-honorees, Gila and Miriam. To our featured speaker, Tanya Zuckerbrot. Tanya, I was hoping that the F in F factor stood for fries. Oh well. To the volunteers of Sharsheret, without you, we are absolutely nothing. To the women and the families that we help, you infuse our lives with meaning each and every day. To my friends from New York City and the Englewood community, I thank you so much for coming. It really means so much to me. To Alana Silber, our executive director, my fellow Sharsheret board members, and the staff of Sharsheret. How amazing are the staff? To my extended family here today, my amazing children, my incredible mother, my beloved wife and best friend Barbara, who is turning 39 again this week. Happy birthday, Barbara. And finally, for all of you who are here, it is so important and means so much to us. Thank you so much. Albert Einstein once said that light travels faster than sound. That's why certain people appear bright until you hear them speak. I hope I'm one of the bright ones today. I'd like to talk to you briefly about how I ended up here and doing one more thing in pushing the limits for Sharsheret. When I moved to Englewood about 9 years ago, a member of my synagogue and longtime Sharsheret supporter, Mo Rice, got wind that I was into endurance sports. He suggested I take a slot in the New York City Triathlon for Sharsheret and raise some money. I knew what a wonderful organization Sharsheret was, but I'd never done a triathlon before. Running, okay. Biking, sure. Swimming in the Hudson, It sounded cool, and inside I said, hell no. But with a little prodding and some coaching, and before I knew it, I'd finished my first triathlon for Sharsheret, feeling very proud that I raised money and awareness for a great cause. I trained, I pushed through pain, faced what scared me the most, and what really scares most of us, pain and the unknown. But I did one more thing, and I pushed the limits. After the race, I asked myself, with so many women involved in Sharsheret, how as a man could I help? So soon I would have my answer, and no sooner did I finish the triathlon than Rochelle Sharitz of blessed memory called me and asked me to stop by her office. We had a very spirited conversation in true Ruchi fashion, and I went on my way. And little did I know that Ruchi and past Sharsheret board member and longtime good friend Linda Gerstel were busy planning something for me in Sharsheret. A few weeks later, Ruchi called to tell me that I'm taking the extra slot that Sharsheret has in the New York City Marathon. I told her, Ruchi, I don't have the time to train. I don't know if my body can take it anymore. I've really got too much going on. But she was relentless. I signed up. One more thing, pushing the limits. Well, a few weeks later, she called me and asked me for a meeting. And at that meeting, she told me, Jonathan, you're going to join the board. Told me. Classic Ruchi. And for those of you who never had the privilege of meeting her, she was amazing. She was magnetic, charismatic. She had her own gravity field, brought everyone into her orbit, and you just became part of her mission. I told her I was too busy running my business, being a father, working on the board of my kids' school, my synagogue, and a number of other initiatives. I simply didn't have the time or the bandwidth. Well, you know how that conversation went. So I joined the board and quickly realized that it's not a board of slackers. It's a board of people who really work hard, who want more than their name just on a letterhead. I met the staff of Sharsheret and the amazing volunteers, and it became apparent to me that everyone at Sharsheret was mission-focused all the time. Sadly, as Ruchi was becoming ill, she encouraged us all to do more, to make Sharsheret would not only survive, but thrive. Though we were all grieving, it was not time to fold. It was time to do one more thing and push the limits, and everybody did. Fast forward to Alana Silber becoming our executive director, bringing new Sharsheret offices to Florida, Los Angeles, and soon Chicago, and adding other vitally important initiatives to the Sharsheret portfolio. Sharsheret was thriving. And one day I got one of those infamous calls, this time from Alana. And she was asking me to become treasurer and sit on the executive committee. Same old refrain, Alana, look, I'm too busy, I got too much going on, business, kids, everything else. But then I thought and considered the mission, and of course did one more thing and pushed the limits even more. Then not long after that, my friend and doctor, Ron Strobel, calls me and said, Jonathan, great news. I'm running the New York City Marathon for Sharsheret in memory of his son Asher. A few years before, I told Ron that if he ever wanted to run a marathon, that I would do it with him, never expecting him to actually go through with it. I thought to myself, I'm too old, too tired, too many commitments, don't know if my back can take it anymore. Well, we did it together. It was the best marathon ever, and likely our last, right, Ron? Once again, one more thing, and pushing the limits. Finally, a few months ago, I got another one of those calls. It was Alana calling me for a meeting with her and Dahlia Short-Snagel, our board president. We met, and Alana quickly cut to the chase, saying, Jonathan, we want to present you with the Lisa Altman Volunteer Award. I thought to myself, very funny. And then I saw the look on their faces. They were deadly serious. I mean, really serious. And I gave them the same old refrain. I'm too busy, I don't have the time, there are people much more worthy than me, I hate public speaking, you know how the story goes. But I relented, and I said I'll do it under one condition. So here's the condition. The condition of accepting the award is that I'm asking all of you here today to do one more thing, to join me, to do one more thing to help Sharsheret. And I know you're all busy. You've got businesses to run, family, you're giving lots of charity, you're doing lots of things, I get it. But you're all part of Sharsheret now. And you understand that our mission is vitally important and needed and so appreciated by those that we help. So I want you to think of one more thing that you can do to commit for Sharsheret and push the limit with me. And when you think of what it is, please stand. And if you're shy, you can just raise your hand. Before you jump up, I want to give you some ideas. Okay, so get ready to stand, and I'm serious here. Okay, you ready? Idea number one. You can bring one person to a Sharsheret event. That's pretty easy, right? Okay, I don't see anyone standing or raising their hand. Come on, guys. I'm serious here. You can bake pies for prevention. Who doesn't like pie? Well, maybe Tanya, you don't like pie, right? High fiber pie, right? we're gonna have a brand pie. I see people standing. Excellent. Okay, you can deliver educational materials to your doctor. Look, you're going to your doctor anyhow, so why not schlep some Sharsheret materials along? You can run a race for Sharsheret, the New York City Half Marathon, the New York City Marathon, the New York City Triathlon. We have great coaches that will help you every step of the way. You can host an event. We'll do every detail for you. All you have to do is show up. You can share on social media the great work we're doing. Talk about easy, click. Okay, come on people, stand. You can refer a friend if they're at risk or diagnosed with breast or ovarian cancer. Talk about a life-changing referral. You can share your personal story with others in the peer support network. You can volunteer in our local offices here in Teaneck, Florida, Los Angeles, and soon Chicago. You can join our marketing committee. You can introduce your children to the B'nai Mitzvah program and the Beatrice Milberg on-campus program. You can join the Young Leadership Circle if you're young and a professional. You can include Sharsheret in your corporate volunteer charity programs. And my favorite, as soon to be president, you can increase your gift and become a jewel, and you get an awesome necklace. Come on, everyone. I see people sitting back there. Come on. I am not sitting down, and Gila and Miriam are not going to be allowed up here till everyone is standing and is committing to do one more thing for Sharsheret. Awesome. A big hand for all of you for volunteering for Sharsheret. Volunteering absolutely rocks. Thank you so much for committing and helping Sharsheret and the women and the families that need us so very much. I am so proud of all of you today for volunteering. Congratulations. Do I sit down?
No, you stay.
Here.
Thank you, Jonathan. That was terrific. On behalf of the board of Sharsheret, thank you for your inspiring efforts and for supporting the women and families we serve. The Lisa Altman Volunteer Tribute Plaque, as I'm holding here, will be engraved with your name and hang in the Sharsheret's office for the years to come. So every time you go in, you get to see your name in print.
Wow.
We'll put a special light on it. And also on behalf of Sharsheret, please accept this gift as a token of our appreciation for your contributions. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Dana.
Touched by breast cancer and ovarian cancer way too early in their life, Gila and Miriam understand firsthand the incredible impact these diseases have on our families, on our communities, and on ourselves. Today, Gila and Miriam, two of Sharsheret's most active volunteers, lead our efforts to improve lives and save lives, reaching out and supporting women one-on-one when they need it most, and educating the next generation about their risk and the measures they can take to protect their future. True women of valor in every way, please join me in welcoming our esteemed guests of honor, Gila Pfeffer and Miriam Reinitz-Kops.
Okay. Thank you all for standing so we were allowed onto the stage. Or not, as the case may be.
This is, yeah, right there.
Is this thing on? Yep.
Hi, I'm Miriam.
And I'm Gila. I'm the oldest of 5 siblings.
And I have middle child syndrome because I'm the middle child. We'd like to take a moment to recognize our friends and family, in-laws, close friends, siblings, East Side, West Side, for being here today. Some of you couldn't be here, and for those of you who are here, thank you so much. It's been a crazy ride, but your love and support have gotten us through some very dark times, and it helps that you tolerate our twisted senses of humor. And Jonathan, thank you for bringing so much masculinity to this event.
And a special thank you to those particular friends who made time in your packed schedules to help make today's benefit a resounding success. Thank you to co-chairs Ellie Borger and Effie Zinkin, committee members Jen Agus, Stephanie Bulger, Shani Gross, Tamar Lohite, and Haley Faber.
My first experience with breast cancer was when I was 12 years old. It was September 1992, and the school year was just starting up again. There was a strange mood in my home. There were a lot of muffled conversations behind closed doors. I saw my mom getting teary-eyed every now and again, and I knew something was up. I asked my mother if she was sick, and she said yes, she was. And she asked me if I knew where she was sick, and I pointed to my chest. My mother was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, and her tumor measured 8 centimeters. Shortly after the initial shock wore off, my mother took on this triumphant attitude. She was gonna eat right, she was gonna get healthy, and she was gonna beat this thing. She used her own personal form of humor as her own personal medicine, and she was really an inspiration to the people around her. And for me, she worked really hard to make sure that I felt comfortable. She would crack jokes about losing her hair, asking how I felt about the way she looked, and she was really just this radiant ball of energy. But that upbeat attitude eventually began to wane as treatment after treatment failed. As a last resort, she went to Denver, Colorado to undergo an excruciating bone marrow transplant, leaving behind her 5 kids and our dad. That was the day I really lost my mother, because the defeated shell of a woman who returned 9 weeks later was not my mom. She finally passed away a year later in June '94 when I was 14. Just before she died, I remember she looked at me from her bed, and she couldn't speak, but I saw tears rolling down her face, and I realized my mom is still in there, and she's saying goodbye to me. Back then, the world wasn't talking about genetics and gene therapy. This pivotal life experience was not about breast cancer for me. For me, it was about losing my mother and learning how to live as a child without one. 24 years later, that gaping hole in my childhood is still with me.
I was 18, practically an adult, when my mother was diagnosed, and I can't say that I was surprised. Her mother and aunt had died in their 40s too. Breast cancer was not openly discussed in our house, but I figured out early on that we had a family history. The only thing I couldn't understand is how my mother hadn't found a way to dodge her own mother's fate. I was always a bit of a control freak and assumed that if you knew a storm was coming, you had the power to stop it, or at least get out of its way. Unlike Miriam, whose focus was not on breast cancer awareness, I saw a family health history that I was tethered to against my will. I was 20 when my mother died, and I made 2 promises. One to myself, to use all means available to stay alive and break our family's cancer cycle. The other promise was to my mother. As she lay in the hospital bed in her final moments, knowing she'd soon leave her 5 children behind, my last words to her were, "The kids will be fine. I promise to look out for them." Am I keeping that promise to her? It's hard to know the answer to that question, but here's where I did manage to keep that promise to my mother. I set a life-saving example for my younger siblings. I'd gone for regular mammograms, ultrasounds, MRIs, and doctor's visits, but hadn't heard of preventative mastectomy until my close friend bravely had one because she was BRCA positive too. I knew right away that this was the only surefire way for me to prevent the inevitable. However, the leap from deciding to actually scheduling surgery was enormous. My biggest fears were that I'd have my teeth knocked out by the anesthesiologist, or that I'd die on the operating table, which would have defeated the reason I was having the surgery to begin with, to stick around for my 4 little kids. I would have delayed another 6 months or more, but my husband Phil and I were moving our family to London, and I wanted this all behind me. I was 34. I opted for a reconstruction that used my stomach, fat, and muscle, which I had plenty of after having given birth to 4 kids in 6 years. I didn't care about having a free tummy tuck. I just wanted those 2 ticking time bombs off of my body. My chances of developing breast cancer went from 87% with BRCA1 down to 5%, better than that of the general population. I woke up from a 9-hour surgery, and the relief was palpable, but short-lived. 6 days later, my surgeon called and stammered out the words, "We found cancer in one breast." She was in as much shock as Phil and I were. Preventative surgery turned out to be life-saving.
So my second experience with breast cancer was on that Thanksgiving Day in 2008 when Gila got the call. The news blindsided us, but I knew she would be okay. I was a newlywed at the time and didn't yet have children of my own, so when the doctors recommended for Gila 8 rounds of chemo as another form of prevention, my husband Mikey and I were able to offer a lot of hands-on support for Gila, Phil, and their 4 little ones. Gila was always extremely vigilant about her own breast health, and me, not so much. But her experience pushed me to get tested for the BRCA mutation. It seemed like the responsible thing to do. I didn't think much about what the outcome would be, though I figured I was probably a carrier. In January 2009, I learned that I did in fact have a BRCA1 mutation, but not the same one as my sister. We had lost our father to colon cancer 5 years earlier when he was only 55, and the geneticist at Sloan Kettering deduced from my test results that both parents had been carriers of a different BRCA1 mutation. This made each of us kids 66% likely to carry a BRCA1 mutation. So I was 29 and faced with this question, not if, but when am I going to do this surgery? Do I race against the clock, have my family first, and then do the surgery? Or do I give up the chance to breastfeed my future children in order to avoid a breast cancer that may or may not come? That's when I panicked. It's much easier when a medical professional says, do this or you'll die. It's mental anguish when such a huge decision is entirely up to you. I was afraid to make the wrong decision, and the uncertainty consumed me, and I can't even tell you why. I just knew that I needed an answer, and no one could offer me an answer. Everyone would be supportive, this much I knew. I knew that no matter what decision I made, I'd have the support of my in-laws, my husband, my siblings, but no one was able to tell me which path to choose, because who could predict the future? Here again, my anxieties were not about breast cancer. It was about making a difficult decision. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I just cried, until finally, one day, 2 months after lots of crying, I spoke with a rabbi who was also a close family friend. I thought he would tell me, believe in God, have your children, breastfeed them, and do the surgery later. But what he actually said not only surprised me, it changed my life. He told me, do the surgery now. He told me that I was linked to a very painful past, a disease that took the lives of both of my parents way too soon, and that by doing this surgery, I'd be breaking that chain, I'd be breaking the link, and only then could I really start living life again. I scheduled the surgery for a week later, and the panic was gone, and I didn't look back. I went on to have 4 beautiful, amazing, formula-fed children.
My cancer story didn't follow the normal order of events, and although I was lucky to have caught it, it should never have happened in the first place. I did everything right. I went above and beyond the prevention protocols, and still this thing defied my best efforts. I frequently compare it to a castle. My castle needed to be protected from a vicious enemy, so I stationed armed guards at its door. I built a high wall around the entire perimeter, and around that wall, a moat filled with crocodiles. I sat safe and secure in my impenetrable castle, yet somehow my enemy tunneled underneath and burst right through the floor where I stood. And that really ticked me off. So what's my connection to Sharsheret? Well, Ruchi, or Rochelle as some of you remember her, was a year above me in high school, and Dahlia was a year below. So it was only natural for me to become an early supporter of Ruchi's new endeavor. My mother had recently passed away, and this was the perfect place to channel my energy. Had someone told me that I'd go from being a volunteer to one of the thousands of women nationwide who turned to Sharsheret for help, I would not have believed them. I needed a link to talk to, and Sharab became that link. My family, friends, and Sharsheret offered invaluable support, and with their help, I pushed through the anger and got on with the business of living. My coping mechanism was, let's pretend this isn't happening, which was made easier by having my family and close friends take the kids when I was not at my best, so that all my kids ever saw was their normal mom. They never seemed to notice my missing eyebrows or lashes, or my sudden obsession with hats. In fact, they didn't know that I had cancer until just this year. No one shouldered more of the emotional burden than my husband, Phil. I wish everyone dealing with cancer had someone like him by their side to be the voice of reason and the protective padding to absorb the stresses. Inside a period of 10 months, I had a double mastectomy, chemo, my ovaries removed, which led to menopause at 35, and I moved my young family to London, leaving behind a vast support system to go to a place where no one knew what I had just been through. It was only after the move that I realized I needed Sharsheret more than ever.
In undergoing our surgeries, we were breaking the links to our painful past, and at the same time, we were creating new ones. I became a Sharsheret link to many women who, like me, were faced with a very difficult decision. Sharsheret would invite me to participate in webinars and give talks and radio interviews about breast cancer prevention, particularly about the massive decision to undergo what is theoretically an elective surgery. This past Rosh Hashanah, I noticed a tiny little bump on one breast. I was sure it was nothing. I was a full-time working mother of 4, so it was very easy to put this on the back burner until I remembered what a Sharsheret link had once said to me. I thought it was a bug bite. Like a ton of bricks on my chest, it hit me at that moment. I have cancer. My family history had finally caught up with me. I was sure of it. I was the same age my mother was when she found her lump, so here I was. What did I think? I was going to dodge this bullet? And now the only questions left were, how much time do I have? A year or 2? How would I handle this? Would I put on a brave face for my children? Would my 7-year-old see through my fake smile like I saw through my mother's? Would my own kids write me off months before I was actually gone? At that moment, for me, it was finally about breast cancer. The following 48 hours were hell until I found out that the bug bite was just some scar tissue. But during those 2 excruciating days, I was linked back once again to my mother. I not only understood, but felt what my mother must have felt, knowing that she was going to leave us behind. And Gila, at that moment, I was linked back to you. I never understood your determination to eliminate any possibility of getting sick. For the life of me, I couldn't understand why you worked so hard to hide all of it from your children. Now that I was a mother, I understood you like never before.
For so long, cancer defined us. To drive the point home, consider this. By the age of 30, I was the oldest living member in our immediate family. After our father died, some well-meaning friends said, "You've lost both parents. Surely you've been through enough, and you're now immune to further disaster." But we saw things differently. We saw that you had to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. I suspect that many of you have seen the video that I recorded for Sharsheret, the one where I tell the story of how my preventative surgery saved my life. I recorded that over 5 years ago and didn't really give it another thought until one day, Shira called me to say that my video had saved someone else's life. That woman is Adina Cement, and today we are good friends on Instagram and in real life. And also she surprised me by flying in from Florida. She's sitting right over there. And you're all on Instagram Live, so say hi to Adina on my phone. Thanks, Adina. Sharsheret was there for me long after the dust settled. The adrenaline that got me through a challenging 10 months, and the following year and a half it took me to acclimate to the language, weather, and of course driving in London, had finally worn off. All of the feelings I'd kept at bay came flooding in, and I found it hard to sleep or breathe. I called Shira, who simply said, "I've been waiting for your call." Shira understood my deep love of metaphors and came up with endless ones to help me move on. She helped me find the strength and the right words to finally tell my kids what I had been holding in for 9 years. Of course, there was a metaphor for that too. Ruchi used to say that you don't ever put cancer behind you, you learn to live alongside it. Sharsheret is the embodiment of Ruchi's philosophy. They help people steer their way through life while cancer sits in the passenger seat, inactive, but very much there. I stand here today having come full circle in my relationship with Sharsheret. I went from being a volunteer and a supporter to someone who relied on them in more ways than I thought possible, to being an actual link myself, and I feel stronger for having completed that circuit.
You could hear our story and feel sad for us. We lost our parents young, had to fend for ourselves, and then face the ghost of cancer past in our own generation. But we see our story as one of empowerment, knowledge, and the importance of a strong support system. It's about turning a disadvantage into an advantage. Disadvantage, our parents died young.
Advantage, we became vigilant about our own health.
Disadvantage, we are BRCA positive.
Advantage, knowledge is the best defense against your enemy.
Disadvantage, we are very short.
Advantage, we get to shop in Zara Kids, which is like half the price.
Whether you're here today in person or you've shown support from far away, you recognize the vital work Sharsheret does for people like us. Gila and I each have one daughter. We have nieces. We look forward to the day when medical breakthroughs render Sharsheret services unnecessary. But until that day comes, we are profoundly grateful to be on Team Sharsheret.
Thank you, Sharsheret, for letting us share our story.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Sorry about the tea. I needed its backup. Do we stay here now? Yeah. Okay. Oh, look over there. Wait, no.
Gila and Miriam, thank you so much for sharing your story. That was wonderful. On behalf of the Board of Directors of Sharsheret, we thank you for your inspiring efforts. Please accept these awards as a token of our appreciation. Thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You'll notice on your tables, the centerpieces are made with fresh fruit, oranges, limes, and lemons. And you should also notice on your chairs, there's a white bag filled with the opportunities to get more involved in Sharsheret. Please take the fruits on your way out today, give them to your children, use them in your drinks, make mojitos at home, and enjoy the centerpieces as something to take home. Thank you for joining us here today, for being here and giving your support to Sharsheret, and we look forward to you being involved.